Right, hello, me again. You might remember in the last episode of the podcast that I said that the audio was going to be fixed, and well, I did my best in trying to fix it and everything, but yeah, it's still not working for some ridiculous reason. I've done all the right tweaking, but yeah, I still sound as if I'm talking into a sock, which I genuinely don't know why. So apologies again for the audio today. This hopefully won't become a running theme because I do genuinely have a proper good setup, but I don't know what's going on at the moment. Maybe I need to replace my microphone. But yeah, apologies again.
This video is proudly supported by RM Risk Management, providing a comprehensive range of services tailored to UK property managers. Visit rmriskmanagement.co.uk to ensure a secure tomorrow. Hello and welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast with me, Tommy Kelsall, and Sam Sheppy. Good evening, mate. How are we?
Yeah, very good, thank you. It's a good win yesterday, and you had your troubles getting to the game, but thankfully I was there on time and saw the early goal, and then kind of carried on in that vein of form that we have been. Now it's 6 league wins in a row, or wins in all competitions, I should say. I think it's the first time we've done that since January 2012. So going back some time, and on a good run of form at the moment, and just the whole atmosphere around the ground and the morale of everything just seems so much more upbeat than it had been before, and long may it continue, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, today we'll be previewing, obviously, the Bristol Rovers game that happened yesterday. 2-0 win. Bit of a disappointing game in terms of the quality at times, but you can't complain about a win when it's coming thick and fast at the moment. So let's get straight into it. I was late for the game yesterday, as you might have seen if you've watched my vlog. And if you haven't watched my vlog, then what is the matter with you? But yeah, we were...
Oh, hands off. I'm sorry, Tony. I haven't seen it yet.
But yeah, we were appallingly late yesterday. So we were already late in setting off, and then got in the car, and as soon as we were reversing out, the front left tyre makes this incredible weird knocking noise that just vibrates through the whole car. It's like dunk, dunk, dunk. It's like, that doesn't sound right. But we hit something at first. Like a cat had been lying under the car and we hadn't seen it or something, so we were really shitting ourselves about that. But then looked out, there was nothing there, and there still is nothing on like the car or anything. So we took it into the garage and everything, and just kept doing it all the way up to the train station, because we were like, we are not getting on the motorway with this clunking along at 70 miles an hour. So we just got onto the train. And we're a bit late. I did see that somebody mentioned in the comments, why don't you just get the Blues bus, the 1875 bus? It set off literally as we got out of the train station. We could see it pulling away past the past Moore Street and everything. So like had they come back round again, would have started by then, because obviously the traffic in Birmingham was a nightmare. But yeah, we missed the first goal. Sam, you can probably fill me in on the Buchanan goal then.
It was a great goal scorer, isn't it? Seeing that he's come back from a long injury, around 6 months out, and you could see the players straight away, going around him when he scored, and it was a great volley, because where me and my dad were sitting, we were like lower cop, literally the first row. So like we had that eye line level of it where you could just see that ball run across, and yeah, fantastic for Buchanan to get on the score sheet, because I said in my match preview that I thought Buchanan would start the game, because I did actually see some people online saying that it could be Laird at left back and then Bielik at right back, because Buchanan's still kind of building up his fitness, and he played 60 minutes in the cup, but he didn't know whether he was going to be match ready for a league game. But lo and behold, he was, and I thought he had a pretty good game, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
you look at blue teams in the past where a key figure like Cochrane gets injured and we really struggle to replace him, but now we've got that luxury of like for like replacements, and it's so good to see that people can come in the team to replace those that are injured and not lower the level too much.
Yeah, that left back role is really solid, isn't it? Because when Cochrane did get injured against Barnsley, I thought, Buchanan's just coming back from injury. It might be a bit of a tricky sort of trying to have to shift everything about, but I thought it was just quality yesterday. He was incredibly consistent as well, so that's really good to see. And obviously, I have seen the goal back since we didn't see it. But yeah, it was really well taken. Just having that sort of effort to go straight for goal as well, because he hadn't scored before that, so to get his confidence up in that way, first league game back in a couple of months now, that's just like perfect for him. There was everything down that left hand side as well, just like really solid all game. Because Ben Davis as well, I think we should touch on him. What a fantastic input he's been for us in these last few games, coming into that sort of back three, back five. I haven't seen him put a foot wrong yet at the moment. He's just quality, and with Buchanan as well, and Cochrane when he's fit, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think Davis can do a bit of both, can't he? He can get stuck in and do the gritty work as well as the playing out from the back, and that's brilliant to have. And as I touched on earlier about the strength and depth that we've got, to start off the season, we had, what was it, Sanderson at centre back, wasn't it? And Clara was on the bench. And then Sanderson had that game against Charlton, didn't he, where he got sent off. And then Clara's come in for him. And then Bielik's now come across the right back. So there's that space at centre back where Sanderson's been off form. So then Ben Davies has stepped in and he's done very well. So it's a lot of good players in different positions. And touching on Buchanan as well, like, when I first saw him play, I thought this could be our left back for a few years to come. I remember when we signed him and Laird, and I was like, that's our fullback sorted for the next 2-3 years. And I'd still like to say that both of them have got a future at the club because they're of an age where they're still quite young, got a lot of market value. So I still feel like there's a lot of progress for them to be made at the club, and we can maybe sell them on for a profit in the future. You just don't know. And with Buchanan, his last goal was against Borussia Dortmund for Werder Bremen 2 years ago. So yeah, going from Borussia Dortmund to Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, not much has changed, really. You'd prefer to be in League One than you would in the Bundesliga, that's for sure. Speaking on Sanderson, does he have a future at the Blues, or are we going to look to sell him in January?
Well, we'll touch on it later on, but we've seen a couple of transfer rumours emerge, and Philip Newman's someone that has been mentioned as a possible someone for coming in January. He plays his football in Germany at the moment in the Bundesliga 2, and someone that Birmingham's had their eye on for a while, so it could be him that's coming in to replace Sanderson, who could be going out because he hasn't had much of a look in this season. It looked like at the start of the season he could have had a pivotal role to play, and I'm sure that Sanderson himself would have thought that he'd have a lot of minutes, being the captain last season, being an important figure in the team, obviously not a player that was in form, but an important player as part of our system nevertheless. So yeah, it's been a bit of a difficult one for Sanderson because of the turbulence that he had last season, not getting the minutes this season. So maybe a move away might do him the world of good for his career going forward, because he is still quite young, and he'd had loan spells at Birmingham before, and then when we signed him permanently, I thought, yeah, this is a real sign of intent from us. And I remember when the permanent transfer was announced, and a lot of people online were excited for it alongside myself, but it seems to be that we've got away from this kind of three at the back system that we had with Eustace, where Sanderson was playing really well and he struggled maybe a bit more in a four at the back system. I don't know what you think of that, Tommy.
Yeah, I suppose so, because he gets a little bit exposed at times when we go like forward and then we're coming back, and we've got those wing backs, left backs and right backs pushing up, and it's just him at times. But yeah, he's only 25 still, so he's still young for a defender as well, because defenders can notoriously go on a bit longer in their career. But I don't know. I think that he's just had a bit of his confidence shot recently, because like you had obviously Davis has had proper championship experience with being with Preston and even with Rangers as well. Rangers aren't in the championship, I know that, but I was just referring to Rangers. But yeah, I think that the quality of the other defenders that we've recruited over the summer have just been above Sanderson's level. I think Bielik as well, him having that other championship experience, and Clara coming into, those type of players are just, going to get ahead of him. So he's going to have to work even harder, which I think is tricky for him, which is a shame as well, because I feel like a little bit of the criticism that he's gotten recently has been a bit unfair. But also at the same time, if you make mistakes, then I feel like you are going to get sidelined for those type of things, because like I said, Ben Davis hasn't made a single mistake I've seen just yet. But yeah, we'll find out, I guess. But I think if the owners are going to be looking to get us back into the championship, and then look to try and improve on the team's performance when we first were in the championship with them, I think they're going to have to be a bit more ruthless on certain players, which we'll get onto more into the episode. But yeah, we had absolutely loads of chances yesterday. We had 26 shots in total, only 2 goals. Bit of a disappointing, really, for the fans, really, because it did get a bit stale towards the second half. But we did score from the penalty. It was a bit of a close handball, but I would still have given it if I was the referee. Obviously, Alfie May looked to have was looking to take the penalty, and then he hands it over to Stansfield. I quite like that. I feel like that keeps his confidence up, and I think that's 11 goals in all competitions this season for Stansfield now for Blues.
I think that might have been his 12th yesterday. So
12.
yeah, right until yesterday. And it's one of the ones where Stansfield takes the penalty, and Josh Vickers in goal looks like he's done his homework, doesn't he? Because he stays down the middle, because Stansfield does opt to go down the middle a lot of the time for his penalty kicks, but he just had the coolness and composure about him to slot it away in the corner, and then he runs away to go and do his knee slide, and he doesn't get that one right, but as long as he got the goal right, then that's all that matters.
I think the keeper should do better there, though, because he just is a bit too flat-footed in the end. Obviously, he knows, like you say, to do his homework and stay down the middle, but there just wasn't that reflexing sort of. There wasn't much agility from him. He just sort of stayed still really. And I don't know. I think a better keeper would have saved that quite easily because it wasn't a great penalty, but I think he got a little bit fortunate there. But still, it's another goal for Stansfield. Really good for his confidence and everything. I feel like the more we start to play games in these next few weeks and into the new year as well, like we'll just start to see a different Blues team. We'll start to really click and move forward. There's been a couple of games where we've been a bit shaky and made hard work of it, like the Exeter game on Tuesday night. We should be doing better in those type of games, and we should be scoring more as well. Like I said earlier, 26 shots, only 2 goals. I feel like we need to find the net a bit more. But yeah, you can only do what you're up against. And Bristol Rovers yesterday, I've not seen a worse team at the Blues for a long time. Honestly, they were so abject. It was beyond belief, really.
Yeah, the team really lacking confidence, aren't they? Because I was speaking to Jamie, actually. I bumped into him in the fan zone before the game, and he was saying to me about a Bristol Rovers stat that he'd seen where like they hadn't had a shot on target or something in the last 3 games, something ridiculous like that. And that just goes to show like that they're really missing something going forward. And if they can't keep the ball out of the back of the net as well, then they're really going to struggle. And they brought on Chris Martin towards the end, didn't they? Not the Coldplay guy. The veteran from Derby and Bristol City amongst other clubs. And he looked like a real physical unit, but he was just dealt with very swiftly, wasn't he? And didn't really pose much of a threat to us. And they had that one chance that got featured on the Sky Sports highlights afterwards, where a guy's ballooned it like 30 yards over, and I was like, if that's your best highlight, then you are going to be in trouble, aren't you?
Well, I was flicking through YouTube last night for a few Bristol Rovers fans, sort of seeing what their reaction was like. And I think they were quite happy that it was only 2-0. They were expecting to lose, I sort of mentioned it in the intro to the vlog. And, all that I saw on Twitter was really negative comments. And it just reminded me of like the couple of seasons ago with Blues where we were just got no passion for the team and anything, and it feels like that with them at the moment. They're obviously not happy with the manager. They feel like I feel that the sacking is probably inevitable, really. Because when you they did have a shot on target yesterday. I genuinely can't remember what it was. I don't remember Allsop having to actually make the save, whether it was just like a sort of just spoons off somebody's foot and he manages to collect it or something like that. But when you're playing football like that, and I mean, we the phrase can't pass a 6-yard pass together. That's often taken into they're a bit crap at the game. They genuinely couldn't yesterday. I don't remember a time when they actually put a good solid pass in. They spiraling over the top out for a corner kick for us and out for throws all the time. They were so I don't even know how to describe them, but they were just so sloppy and so all over the place. I don't know what they were trying to do or anything. It just looked like damage limitation throughout the whole game, really.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that, when you say they're spooning it out of play or whatever, a lot of that as well can be attributed to our press. I think the press from the front, again, was really good yesterday. And that's what Chris Davis looks for, energy levels, pressing forward. Because if you listen to what he says after the game, he says about the team pressing, and he said the defence starts from the front and vice versa. And he really believes in, everybody working as a unit to get the ball back, have control of the game, which we did from minute 1 to minute 90 yesterday. And the subs that came on, it was a triple sub, weren't it, towards the end? And the players that came on, again, you couldn't really notice a lack of quality in the substitutions that came on. They all knew what they had to do in the team. And obviously you get Duke that comes on, everyone wants him to score. And he had that low header towards the end. Yeah, exactly, that low header towards the end. And I was just crossing everything, hoping that he was going to score. But unfortunately he didn't. And yeah, when he gets that goal at St Andrews, it's going to be brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just glad that he got that goal against Blackpool in the cup because, it feels right for him to get a goal in the season. Whether we'll get one in the league this season is up for debate, but you never know. The guy's an absolute trooper and a real proper legend of the club for all that he's done for us in the craft few years that he's been with us. He's been an absolute legend, really. So yeah, I'm sure it will come. I don't know. It felt when he came on as if we were trying to give him a goal, and I thought, I don't really like that, I like it that it's Duke and everything, but also at the same time, we need to be scoring some more goals because I'm not disappointed that we didn't win by more. I'm happy that we've won because we go a point behind Wickham now. We could go top depending if they lose to Bolton on Friday. We play on the Monday. It's really strange organisation of fixtures this season. So, depending on that. But I don't know, it's just the goal difference for me because if the league's going to be as close as it is come the end of the season, then we might look back on these games and think, I probably could have got a few more. The opposition were really poor. But on the same debate, then it's also Chris Davis is probably just shutting up shop. There's no danger from Bristol Rovers. And I suppose maybe throwing everybody forward and trying to get a third, and that never comes, and then they might break away and get a goal. Then I don't know. It's tricky to sort of work out, but I would have liked to at least have seen a third.
Yeah, my dad was actually saying the same thing to me, like next to me, where he was saying, we should really be scoring 3, 4, 5 against these kind of teams. And, that's no disrespect to Bristol Rovers. It is purely because of, the team that we've got and the amount of money that we spent. And I might be wrong on this statistic. I don't know if you know, Tommy, but I think this season in the league, we haven't beat a team by more than 2 goals.
In the difference, so like
Yeah, so like 3-1 or 4, no, like 4-0 or like 3-0 or something. I don't think we've won by more than 2 goals in the league.
Oh yeah, so because we've won 3-1 against Lincoln away, and then we won 3-2 against Peterborough. But I don't think the difference has been bigger than 2. Yeah,
2 goals.
So
Yeah, exactly.
3-0. Yeah.
And you look at like the games yesterday, and like Wycombe beat Cambridge 4-1 away from home, and they can really put teams to the sword, and that's because they're the top goal scorers in the league, and they attack with real purpose. And I mean, even when we played them, they caused a lot of threats going forward for us. And Wrexham conceded late on as well, didn't they? And that means that we got. That means we got up to second as well. So back into the automatics. But I feel like if we just keep on doing our job, the rest of the teams around us are eventually going to drop points. So the form that we're on at the moment is just brilliant.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know. I've got to be careful with the way I word this, but like it's I think the level of opposition, like we should be going and beating them by more. I think that we should, because it gives a message to teams like Wycombe, who can score a lot of goals, and Wrexham. That when we next play them, which is soon as well, because we play in January against Wrexham, like it gives us the sort of the confidence to go into these games, because I don't know, I feel like if we were to go into that game in January with a good, I don't know, let's just say 4-0, I'm not saying anything, but like if we go into those games with like a good few run of games of where we're really starting to put teams to the sword, then it gives us that sort of boost, because those are the teams that we're really playing up against, really, towards that top of the table. Because at the moment, I can't see anybody else catching us 3, really. Huddersfield look a little bit weak at times. The other teams that you should probably would consider to be around those spots as well, like Bolton, they're not quite there. Blackpool are struggling, so with Charlton, even though they have beaten us earlier in the season. So if it's between us 3 really going for those automatic spots, we've got to be going into those games having coming off the back of winning those games, winning some of the other games really comfortably. So, but then again, on the other hand, like we've beat all 3 of them. Beat Wrexham, we beat Stockport, we beat Wycombe. It's a weird one. So I don't know where the line finds. I think it's just a bit of confidence for the fans, maybe.
Yeah, there's room for improvement, but at least we're winning games, so it's a nice problem to have at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Another two goal win actually. Bit of a weird thing that we're going through at the moment, but again, not complaining. Obviously, we'll refer a little bit to the Exeter game because it was a little bit hard work at times. But game kicked off, and obviously it's the second time there this season. Kesi Anderson had a bit of a funny start to the game and then ended it really well with the goal and everything. But that sitter, honestly, I don't know whether you saw it, Sam, but like
I did see it. Yeah.
Oh man, I couldn't believe what he was doing.
It's like you see that he misses that, and then he scores the goal towards the end, which was definitely a harder chance, sort of like running onto the ball the way that he did. And you kind of just left scratching your head of it, because you're like, if he can score them ones, then why can't he score the simple ones? And I think Kesi Anderson, it's a bit of a topic for debate, isn't it? Because I feel like in League One this season, he's doing a brilliant job for the team. But I still feel like in the Championship, can he make that step up to the next level? I'm not too sure. Obviously, I want him to in that. And like this season, he's been, I'd say, the most improved player from who was here last season, definitely. Like, obviously, he missed the last chunk of last season with injuries, but this season he's featured in the team a lot, probably more than Chris Davis would have expected because of the injuries to Hansen and Wright. But he's come in and done a good job for us, and his energy levels, I think, are brilliant as well. The way that he presses, and he always leaves everything out there. And towards the end of the game, he looks like he's blowing a bit, but that's because he puts the hard yards in, and he really does do a shift for the team, and that's why Chris Davis likes him so much.
Yeah, he's a grafter. You can't deny it about him. I just it's a couple of little technical things maybe which might be contributed to his like just being a bit out of breath towards the end of the game. But he just miscontrolled a pass from Iwata yesterday. It was that's what I'm a little bit frustrated with, because like his work ethic is like top dollar really. He's always really working hard, and as Blues fans, we accredit that massively. But it's just those tiny little things. Sometimes he might not make a pass quite right, or he's not looking up and being aware of who's around him, or he's miscontrolling it sometimes. But yeah, then he can have really good moments. He's a bit Cameron Jerome in that way, actually. In fact,
I get what you mean, actually.
Cameron Jerome, on the very last day of the season in 2008, he missed an absolute sitter against Blackburn, right in front of the goal. Literally, he's got the whole entire goal, and the ball bounces up off his shin and it goes over the top of the crossbar. That would have literally put us back in front as well. And then he scores 2 really, really good goals on the volley and then 1 in on the break to make it 3-1, and then Mwamba makes it 4-1. It was like, you can't score that one. You can score 2 absolute brilliant goals. So that he's a bit. Anderson can be a bit like that, because even they had an offside goal as well in that game, which he took really well back across the goal into the far corner, which obviously ruled out unfortunately. And then the goal that he scored to win it from the Okayama cross was just fantastic. Really, just coming sweeping it in with his left foot. It was like lovely finish, And there is some definite quality about him, and also Yokoyama as well. We should point out as well, but I think with someone like him, he's just got to have a little bit more to his games and start making the starting lineup. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens going forward when Hansen and Wright return from the injuries, and maybe 1 or 2 players introduced in January. Will Anderson get as many minutes as he is at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Yokoyama can get a start soon?
Well, I don't think he's even started in the league yet, has he? So we're still waiting for his first league start, and Chris Davis seems to think that there's something not quite right yet, or there's something missing. But again, kind of similar to Luke Harris, where they're both young players, and I still feel like they've got a lot to learn in the system, and you kind of have to give them a bit of leeway because of their age, I think, and the fact that Yokoyama's moving to a different continent, Luke Harris making kind of a step up to play in a team that's expected to win every week. You have to make adjustments for these kind of players, because I see some talk about Luke Harris and that, and I feel like some of it is quite harsh for someone that's been out injured for a lot of this season, and he's still very young. So yeah, Harris is one of the players that I think's definitely got a future at Birmingham. Obviously for this season, we've got him on loan. Who knows what's going to happen the season after, but I'd like to just let it see it play out, because he'll get a lot of minutes in the cup competitions we're still in, as well as the FA Cup. So I imagine that he's going to, learn the system a bit more, and I feel he could be a real integral player in our running.
Yeah, do you think he had a good game on Tuesday night against Exeter?
Against Exeter, well, he took his goal well, didn't he? The one that came off the post, and real composed finish. And Chris Davis has actually likened him to Frank Lampard in his press conferences, the way that he kind of moves into the box in the final third, making the right runs at the right time. So I feel with Harris, again, like what I said about sort of energy levels as well, and what Chris Davis looks for in the press, I feel like Harris can execute that perfectly in the way that he presses and the energy levels that he has in the middle there. So yeah, there's definitely a player there. That's what I'd say. It's just about giving him time to really find his feet in the team. And as the fixtures go on later on in the season, he could play a real important part.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think you're right on that, because he looked really lively when against Wycombe when he came on in that game. And he took his goal really well as well. But again, it's kind of like the thing with Sanderson, isn't it? Because you've got Williamson ahead of you. To try and play better than him is quite a tall order, because Williamson's just fantastic. I'm still a massive fan of the guy. He's just calm, composed on the ball. He's got a good eye for where he is and everything. He's really, really good with his feet as well. I thought again yesterday was just knocking the ball between his feet to get past players and everything. I think Harris has that, just not quite on the level that Williamson has. And I think sometimes he can get a little bit overwhelmed in that midfield sometimes when he's got a lot of players on him and everything. But I think because Williamson's quite tall and quite aware of the space around him, he can sort of just roll off players really well and really easily, because he's just got more space when he's got the ball, really. But where Luke Harris is who's quite a lot shorter than Williamson, because the guy's an absolute fucking unit, really, let's be honest. So trying to work his way around defenders who's just coming in really quickly on him can be really tricky at times. And I've noticed a lot of people have been saying that, they want him, they feel like they should send him back and everything. And it depends again, depends what the owner's sort of view on that is, really, whether they want to really properly improve on those positions and whether they want instant results immediately. But I would like to see more from him, because I feel like it's kind of like Riley McGree a few seasons ago, if you remember that. He had a couple of shaky games in that lockdown season where it wasn't just seeing quite where he was. But then he had a really good run of fixtures where he started to look good, and then obviously his loan was up, and then he came back the following season with Bowyer, and we were in a situation where we were actually wanting to sign the guy because he'd had a really good run of fixtures with us and showing his form really well. But obviously we didn't have 5 million at the time to fork out to go and buy him off. Where was he? I can't remember where he was now.
It was Charlotte FC, wasn't it, in
That's
America?
It, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I've got that kind of feeling about him. He's young. I mean, he must be like 19, 20. I mean, he's only a
Yeah.
year older than my brother, which is weird to think, actually. But I think he's got more to give, and it's just options as well. But it depends what the signing, or it depends what the scouting is for January. Because again, like I genuinely don't know who we are going to sign. I can point out like some positions. I feel like we need some wingers. I also feel like maybe some more. I think maybe just like that sort of. It's actually no freeing up the sort of loans positions, because I feel like we should maybe even buy Ben Davis, like that sort of thing, frees up another loan spot. But in terms of the players who we're actually going to get, I've not really much idea, because I wouldn't have told you that Williamson or Cochrane were coming in the summer.
Well, it's this wider scouting network, isn't it? All of a sudden now we've broadened our horizons to these different leagues in Europe where we can poach top talents, and you see a lot of the top teams, even in the Premier League, do it. I mean, you look at Brighton's scouting network; that's just unreal, isn't it? Where they poach these players from. So yeah, the wider the scouting network, the better, I think, because you can get these players for cheaper deals and really nurture them within like the English game to then sell them on for a profit.
Yeah, because it's a weird sort of makeup, isn't it? The English league sometimes, because of the quality from throughout down the leagues, really. So you've obviously got the Premier League, which is like proper elite level, best league in the world, and even the Championship is proper physical, and so is League One. So that from the fourth leagues, really, like they're miles above any of the third or fourth leagues in any other country. So getting to adapt is really really quickly. So yeah, we'll segue head on to the Crawley game. I need to put the graphic up, I think, for the Exeter one. But yeah, lost to Peterborough 4-3 yesterday. Came from 3-1 down to get back to 3-3, but Blues at the end they lost 4-3. They're 21st, so they sit inside the bottom four, which is weird actually, because I've been so used to saying bottom three all these years, and suddenly say it's bottom four. That's weird. But yeah, they 6 points from the last 5 games. Colin Truman does play for them. I don't think he's their main choice goalkeeper. I think it's Wallacott, who's mostly in net at the moment. He hasn't played since Bristol Rovers, but according to what FOTMOB says on that, he was their man of the match. So interesting to see if he's fit or not fit, or whatever the situation is on him. But again, we play on Monday, which is 2 days after Wickham. So it'll be interesting to see what type of, because if Wickham lose, then or draw even, then there's a chance for us to go back top, and again it won't depend on Wrexham because they're below us. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about this game. I don't know whether to have like concerns maybe from the Shrewsbury game or whatever, or whether we're just on a good run of form now. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring up the Shrewsbury game and go, if a team's in the bottom four, then I'm not going to underestimate them. But I mean, the thing is about Crawley games, you said their last game was 4-3, and one thing you can guarantee about their games is it always seems to be entertaining, whether it be them conceding a lot of goals, scoring a lot of goals, or both teams. And Rob Elliott actually now is their manager, former Newcastle goalkeeper. He was manager at Gateshead before moving on to Crawley, and Scott Lindsay was the manager that actually took him from League 2 to League 1, but he actually departed Crawley to go to MK Dons in the league below. So when that happened, a lot of people didn't give Crawley a prayer, especially in the summer transfer window, where they got rid of like most of their players that got them up to League 1. They kind of cashed in on him then, and then a lot of people didn't really give him a prayer going into this season. But they're not doing too bad. I mean, a lot of people, because they were predicted to finish rock bottom, they could have been cast adrift a bit, but they've certainly been competitive in games, scoring a lot of goals. And yeah, they've got some decent players. They seem to pluck them out from non-league, a lot of these talents. I mean, we talk about our scouting network in the wider regions of Europe, but what Crawley do really well is they recruit well from non-league in this country. So they've nurtured some talents through there. And I feel it's got the potential to be a banana skin, but again, like with a lot of these games this season, you just hope that we've got enough firepower to get through it and score the goals to win the game.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because they beat Charlton earlier in the month, 2-1 away as well, something that we couldn't do. They did lose quite a cracking game as well to Lincoln in the FA Cup. But they beat Rotherham, who are having a shocking season, by the way. They really aren't doing up to anything. Considering they came down with us, I thought they would have actually had a bit more of a chance of going up, but nothing at all. They lost to Wickham in the trophy, but they've drew against Huddersfield and Burton and a couple of other teams. So, like you say, they're putting up a good fight, to be fair, considering that people thought they were going to finish bottom, which is what I might be a little bit worried about. I think that's just my blue cynicism really coming in from that. But I don't know. It'll be a weird one to sort of give a prediction on, because I think I don't know. I don't know whether we can put teams towards the bottom of the table away, because I don't know. I haven't really seen that yet. I've seen us do it to the top teams because I think we know what to expect from them. You know, like the Stockport when we were playing them on the other nights. I feel like we sort of knew when we went 2 goals ahead that we were just going to sit back in, know where to press and everything. But teams like Shrewsbury and Mansfield aren't towards the bottom of the table, but they aren't like the big 4 really out of the top teams at the moment. But they can be a bit unpredictable sometimes. I don't think we like that as a team. I think we like the sort of structural sort of repetitiveness that we can sort of follow with it. It's not me saying that I think we're like following that sort of routine, but I think it's difficult when you're playing against teams towards the bottom of the table that aren't particularly as well set up as teams like Wrexham and Stockport and Wickham and everything. So like it might be an interesting one. I'm not entirely sure what to expect from them.
Yeah, I completely get what you mean, actually, because I feel that kind of works its way into why we're unbeaten at home in the league this season. Because at home, obviously, we know like about the structure of the team, the players are familiar with the pitch and everything, and because there is that unpredictability about League One, where kind of the form book goes upside down with a lot of these games, and you look at Crawley and you see like the capacity of their ground, and they're going to try and make it like hostile and do everything that they can to upset our rhythm. And when we're at home, we can sort of be in that rhythm a bit more because of the bigger pitch and we know what we're doing a bit more and everything. But the last time I went for a big prediction on a Blues Focus preview was the Charlton game, where I actually said 4-0 and we lost that game. So I'm not going to go and say like we're going to, blow Crawley out of the water or whatever, because I've learnt my lesson from it. But I do just have a gut feeling that we are going to get quite a few goals in this game. And that's not me saying that it's going to be 4-0 or 5-0. It may be that Crawley get 1 or 2 goals, but I just have a feeling that this is the game where it's going to all click into motion. And we've got a lot of games coming in the next few days. I mean, the next couple of weeks is absolutely ridiculous if you look at the schedule. As you said about the days that we're playing as well, it's just crazy at the moment. But I really hope this is the game where we can like score a few goals and turn it on. And we've got Burton, haven't we, on Boxing Day at home. And I remember, really good, really looking forward to that. And I remember a game, you'll know about this one, Tommy, like when it was Gary Monk, one of his like first games in charge, when we had Burton at home and they were down in the sort of relegation zone with us, and we drew 1-1 with them. And I've never seen a more dominant performance from Birmingham and us not win the game. Like, it was so dominant that day, but they just had like 2 shots on target and they scored 1 of them and they got a point.
Who scored for them? Was that Dyer?
Probably, yeah.
He used to play for us or something like that. But yeah, he scored and then celebrated right in front of us. He's a dick. But then Duke got the equaliser towards the end of it.
We hit the woodwork like 3 times in that game. Yeah. So I think I remember like Boga hitting the post and Duke hitting the post. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, because Duke scored. That one even came in off the bar as well. I did. I don't know whether it'll be that type of game though. Whether we'll be like, this is Crawley by the way, not Burton. I'm hoping we give Burton a bit of a pasting really, because we've always struggled with them in any type of. I still don't think actually we've ever beaten them in the league. We
didn't beat them in the Championship when they were in there.
No, we beat them in the Cup. I can't remember if it was the League Cup or the FA Cup. It might be the FA Cup. Sam Gallagher scored that, but we never beat them in the league. They're a real tricky team they were a tricky team. I don't know anymore. That's why I'm hoping that we'll give them like a good 4 or 5-0 really. Anything more is absolutely more than acceptable. But yeah, I don't know about Crawley. I would, basing off the current form, I would like to say 2-0 Blues, because we seem to be in that weird pattern at the moment where we're just scoring 2 goals and then probably should be getting more, or the other way around where we're coming from a goal behind to go and get 2 goals. And now I was saying that yesterday actually, like we've got to start to be in front and still be in front, because like the Barnsley game was like a real sort of wake-up call, I think, for those type of games, because other teams around us, in like I was saying, Wickham and Wrexham and Stockport, when we play them again, I'm sure they'll take the real courage from that, particularly that we've got Stockport and Wrexham away as well. Then they'll take confidence from us going a goal behind against Barnsley, and the fact that we can't score more than 2 goals. And this is not from a Blues perspective, this is from their perspective, this is the fact that they're going to look at that and look at us and think that maybe we could go and try and get a few goals past them, because it's in their hands then. So I would like to think that we're going to start to put a couple of teams, like Crawley are in the bottom 4, so if we're not going there with the mentality to think that we could beat them by that target, or if we're just going to get 2 goals and sort of shut up shop, which I've got nothing against, but also at the same time, it just sends a message to those teams to say, like, now we can really score, and we're a quality team as well. So it'll just put that sort of barrier in between them to think, sort of knock their confidence off a little bit, because I'm sure we'll win on Monday, which is weird to say. I'm sure we'll win on Monday, but then again, it's like I want to win well. I feel like we're due that as well.
Oh, we get a bit greedy now, Tommy. 3 points just isn't enough. It's got to be by 3 or 4 goals.
I just think it will help. Do you know what I mean? It's like when we play Wrexham again, if we keep winning by 2-0 and everything, and they keep winning, and the gap is really close, I think they'll fancy us. Because it's at home as well for them. But by the way that we turn the game around in the game at St Andrews, I think they'll just be more up for it this time, because they'll really want to win that. So just a couple of really good, convincing wins. I mean, they are convincing, because honestly, Bristol Rovers were hopeless yesterday, and Stockport didn't look like scoring. And even every game this season, apart from Reading, like, we've been mostly in control. There's been a couple of ones like Peterborough that have been a little bit tricky and a little bit of a slip up, but like we look comfortable at home, but it's just the way maybe, and with against some of those bigger teams, I just hope that it might not be Crawley, it might be Burton, it might be somebody else, but a couple of wins where we look completely dominant, like Rotherham, for example, earlier in the season, looked perfect, like all game, nothing to worry about at all. So just like a couple of games like that, running up to those games, I feel like it'll give us the confidence, and it'll knock their confidence down a little bit.
Because we're going into a stretch of games now where we're playing a lot of teams in the bottom half, because like towards the start of the season we played a lot of teams that are currently in the top half of League One. So now we're on this run of playing teams towards the bottom, like your Bristol Rovers, your Crawleys, your Burtons. We're crying out really for that performance, like what you said about just really putting on a show and getting them 3 points in a convincing manner to send a real message to the rest of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might start to come really, really good for us then, because the season we can have, like it, even though it's probably not, how do I word this? It probably isn't the season that we're hoping for. Getting promoted and winning a trophy. It's not the standards of what we were hoping for since United took over. We were hoping that we're going to win the Championship and get back into the Premier League and go on a mad cup run and make like the semi-final or something. But still, like, we could get promoted at the end of the season. We could win the league, and we could have a day out at Wembley and win the EFL Trophy as well. So those type of performances will just give us the confidence, and it might just give us the sort of respect from other teams towards the bottom of the table as well, and towards the top of the table for us to play our style then. Because you see with other teams, like in other leagues, where the other teams at the top of the table, they're like, who did Wickham play yesterday? Was it
So I said Cambridge, but that may have been actually Wrexham that played Cambridge. Just thinking about it now.
They played one of the two, yeah. This is shockingly bad at research. Who did they play? 1 second, everybody, in the listen to this on audio. They played Shrewsbury. There we go. That was correct. So they played Shrewsbury, and I definitely think though they would have looked at that and gone, okay, right, this is going to be a tricky game today. We're not expecting much, and they've took that to them. They've shown that they can do that. Whereas like Bristol Rovers the other night, when I was looking through some of their fan channels, they were like, all right, we lost, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and I don't want that from us at the moment, because everybody says we're the best team in the league, and everyone, like the Stockport manager said it, and I think the Bristol Rovers manager said it yesterday as well, the fact that being at blows, and he even alluded to the fact that we were going to go big in January again, which we'll touch on just very soon. But like, I get the feeling that they're coming away from these games and thinking wasn't as bad as it could have been. But I reckon that Shrewsbury yesterday were going, bloody hell, that was a real tough game that was to watch, losing 4-1. So that's the last thing I'll say on it. But just a couple of wins like that will be like, okay, yeah, Blues are really coming back now, because we've had a couple of shaky games over the last few weeks. We're going back on a good run of form now, like you say, 6 wins in all competitions. But like, I just need to get that sort of real devastation about us and not care about other teams as well, because like, we're in this for ourselves, we need to get out of the league, we need to get back into the Championship and back on track with this project, and then start to push forward in that way as well, because I feel like it'll give so much confidence to everybody then, and we'll start to see results like that just pour in, and other teams will just give so much respect for that as well. They'll just sit off us and sort of just damage limitation. We'll just fire past them at that point, I'm sure.
I completely agree.
Yeah, let's have a little bit of a talk about some of the transfer rumours. So Nathan Redmond, former Blues player, is currently at Burnley. Thoughts on him? Is that an interesting one? Would you like to see him back at the Blues?
It's interesting, isn't it? It was a bit of a rumour that came out of nowhere when I saw it on my phone. I was like, not someone that I'd expect us to go for, considering the league we're in and the sort of calibre of player that Nathan Redmond had gone on to being, established Premier League player. But when you look at his injury record, he hasn't actually played a minute in the Championship this season for Burnley, and he's really struggled with injuries over the last couple of seasons. And his market value, according to Transfer Market, is like €5 million still. But he's not played a lot of football recently. So it's that thing of, if you bring in Nathan Redmond, then you've got to then get him up to speed. And I know obviously we're in League One and it's a lower division that he would have ever played in. But still, coming back from that length of spell on the sidelines, you do have to kind of, I guess, be patient if you're going to bring him in. But then again, it's like we've got a lot of competition as it is. So do you have the patience to wait for someone to then be fit for a February or a March, when it is really important time for us in the season, in the running where there's no room for errors? So it's about weighing up the pros and the cons. And obviously the pros is the calibre player that Redmond is, having played in the leagues that he has done. But then the cons is the injuries and the fact he hasn't played a minute in the Championship this season.
How old is the guy now, actually? He's
Hearing his age is
30.
going to make us feel old, isn't it? Oh, 30.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I remember
30.
his first game for us, actually. He had the number 34, if I'm not wrong in thinking. Well, the first game I can remember, so it was his first game, though. But he played in the FA Cup against Bolton when Kevin Phillips scored that mental goal from outside the box. And yeah, I remember him thinking he was young then, so 30. I mean, probably the fact that he's gone bald and got a beard now makes him look a bit older than he probably is. But yeah, he was just a kid when he first started playing for us, really, so that's like a weird thing to remember. But yeah, injuries, yeah. I think, because that's the only reason why this rumour's come about, isn't it? Because Poku plays for Peterborough, has gotten injured, and we were interested in looking at him, apparently. So I don't know whether we sub him for Redmond or that. It'd be nice to go down memory lane with it, but also at the same time, do we take that sort of risk with it? I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I don't know if it's the right signing for January, put it that way. I think when it's in the middle of the season and there's games going on thick and fast, and you haven't got a pre-season to kind of bed him back into the team or back into playing first team football, it's a bit of a different proposition. And when you look at Kwame Poku, like Peterborough, they want to cash in January because his contract's out at the end of the season. So I feel that if they were going to sell him, they're going to sell him in this window. But obviously that injury's now come about, so it's going to be tricky to assess what's going to happen with that. But Poku is someone that has played minutes in League One this season and done very well for Peterborough. So I still feel that deal could be on the table.
That's a bit of a dilemma for us, isn't it? Because I would almost disagree with that, actually. I would say that Redmond probably is now the January signing, because that he's not really worth anything. We can get him on a loan deal for the 6 months till the end of the season, and then we could possibly get Poku, depending if nobody's bidded for him, and try and get him at the end of the season when he's not been worth anything. So I don't know. I'd probably say the opposite. You say that Poku now in January, and then Redmond. No, then probably Redmond off the table. I would say Redmond now, even though he probably hasn't played a game this season, but basing off the fact that Poku's already injured, and go for him towards the end of the season. Don't know. That's a bit of a dilemma. Unless we go for somebody completely different, when that's just not on the table at the moment, because nothing else has been rumoured at the moment apart from Newman, who plays for who's that sort of defender.
That would be a good signing, by the way. That is one I'm excited. I don't know too much about him. I mean, like what I used to do when I was younger, when we signed players that I'm not familiar with, I look at their FIFA card and I see the stats on that one, and I see he's a centre back with 87 pace. So he's clearly capable in a high line.
Honestly, no one would.
Yeah, exactly. It's a silver card as well. He would have been part of them, silver squads. Yeah, exactly. A real gem of a FIFA card. And with 87 pace as a centre back, you can imagine that he's going to be capable of playing in a high line alongside Clara maybe going forward. And yeah, really excited for that one, because the team he's playing for, I think he plays for Hanover at the moment, and they're third in the league. So they're going well in Bundesliga too. So he's playing 90 minutes from each week as well. So a regular for them in their team.
Yeah, that probably leaves a little bit of a dilemma in who we play at the back then, isn't it? Who you might swap out, because I imagine if we're going to buy him, then we might even have a look at trying to, because obviously I imagine Sanderson might go out, because we've got a fair few centre backs then. But then who do we swap out? Do we swap out Bielik? Can we play him more in the midfield, or do we just put him out the team in together, really, which feels a bit harsh if we're going to do that?
Yeah. I think Sanderson's going to leave permanent in January. I can see that happening for his sake as well as the team's sake. I think it's the best decision for both parties, isn't it? Yeah. So I reckon Sanderson will leave in January. And as for Newman, again, it's someone that is a good player that could provide competition. So if one player has a bad run of games or gets an injury, then Newman's there straight away to come into the team. and can start regularly because he's been playing regularly in the Bundesliga 2 this season. He can just slot in there because I imagine the team we've got now, there is probably going to be 3 or 4 injuries, big injuries to big players. So it's all about how we move the team around and just having them options available, the like-for-like replacements, like we do at left-back with Buchanan and Cochrane, where it isn't a significant downgrade to the team.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's, like for like switching in and out, isn't it? Yeah, sort of like, kind of like how I imagine, was meant to be last season, sort of just bringing him in when one of the defenders is either injured or isn't up to the standards. But then the swap itself wasn't quite what we needed it to be from Iwu, which is a shame as well because he looked all right when we brought him in at first, but then obviously with the switch around with Rooney, he started to really filter out then, but I don't think that's going to happen. It won't happen this season. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to sort of point out where we need to get some signings in because I feel like we do, because I feel like the team could do with some more quality depth. I think at the moment we're sort of working out whether they are going to be off the standards or anything. I just think Yokoyama is one of those players that we're sort of umming and ahhing about really at the moment, whether we're going to think he's, up for the task or anything. I would like to think that he is, the same way that I'd like to think that Harris is, but if there's other players on the table, then I don't know. It's a tricky one to try and work out.
Yeah, I think one of the positions I've seen people talk about online is the right back position, because it's interesting with Alphonse Samsted here, who hasn't really played the minutes that perhaps he would have expected in the team. And this is a bit of a different story, but when I was in Ireland last week, I was actually speaking to 2 Icelandic guys, and they, when I was speaking about football to them, and I said I supported Birmingham, they were like, "Oh yeah, you've got 2 Icelandic players, haven't you? Williamson and Samsted." And they were telling me about them, like stuff that I didn't know, and they were telling me that Samsted hadn't got the minutes this season that they were expecting him to get. And actually, one of them used to play against Williamson at like secondary school level in like regional schools. He actually used to play football against him. So yeah, that was a funny encounter. And going back on topic, Samsted is someone that I don't imagine will get permanently next season because he just hasn't got the minutes, has he? And with Ethan Laird, there's been a bit of a divide about him whether he's good enough to kind of start every week for us, because we did have that dip in form when Ethan Laird got introduced back into the starting 11, didn't we? I feel like it did kind of coincide with Taylor Gardner-Hitman getting dropped, and Gardner-Hitman's someone that I definitely look to get permanent as well as Davis. I think them two are locked in. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, because it gives other loan options then, doesn't it? Even though I don't think, because I don't really know much about League One, because we've been in the Championship for fucking years, honestly. But I don't know if there's any limit on the loan option. Is this we can loan as many people in, but there's a certain amount on the starting line?
Yeah, I think you're only allowed 6 in the matchday squad. So at the moment, it looks as if there's like 4 or 5 that feature regularly in our matchday squad. So I don't know if we will take the measures of sending someone back, because the team is pretty set as it is. It's just little tweaks here and there, I think. So they won't go overboard and change too much with it. But 1 or 2 signings on loan wouldn't go amiss just to try and get us over the line.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would always love someone like a Jack Butland back, but he's playing in the Scottish Cup final tonight and played really well. So
last time I checked, that score was 3-3. So I don't know what the score ended up as. Did they?
Yeah. It was so much more interesting than the Manchester derby, honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean, 85 minutes of the Manchester derby was awful, and then the final 5 minutes it sparked into life, and United nicked it at the end.
We turned over right as Bruno Fernandes equalised, and then Diallo goes up and everyone wins it for them. So God knows what's going on with City and United, to be honest. But honestly, that first half was appalling compared to the Scottish Cup final, which was so much better. The atmosphere was fantastic, which, do I even say this? Yeah, fuck it, I've got to. I thought the atmosphere at the game yesterday was really poor, actually. We just seemed flat, because we were walking in and it sounded really great, hearing the slow kick right on as we're walking up to the ground and thinking, oh, that sounds amazing, But as we got in, it just like all just went a bit flat almost. So I'm not complaining or anything, I just think that's just how we are at times. And I also don't want to be one of those teams where we feel like we have to sing all the time, because I don't want to be something that we're not. It was just noticeable yesterday. I felt like it's a bit boring, could do with a couple of songs to get it going around the ground and everything. But again, like I was saying last season, the reason why there weren't much atmosphere is because of the poor football on the pitch. And obviously yesterday wasn't poor because we did win. But, you can only do what is there on option, really. But it was noticeable yesterday, really. It's just like in terms of like how lethargic it felt at times, which is a shame as well, because I felt like could have done with a bit more to be a bit more of an interesting game, really, because again, Bristol Rovers are just absolutely appalling, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak about my own experience and where I was sitting in the lower court. It was actually all right. Like, I was it was like Lower Cop, literally right next to the Tilton, so like by the corner flag on the first row. So like where I was, it wasn't actually too bad, and like I was enjoying myself, and the guys behind me were just like absolutely taking the piss out of the linesman. Like he got one of those offside calls wrong. And I think there was one point in the game, wasn't there, where there was an offside call and it was given in their own half, and it was just such a strange decision. And I was speaking to a guy at the top about it, and he was telling me about how the rules had all changed and everything, and everyone around us did not understand that, and neither did I really, looking at it at first glance, how that call could be given in their own half. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, because like it's meant to be so like where you were offside from, I think, because they might change the rules. They've changed a lot of rules on refereeing and stuff in general in the last few years, ever since VAR's come in, really. But like, I don't know how it can be from inside your own box, because it came directly after like Kesi Anderson had been offside 3 times, so it gave that sort of decision a little bit of a sort of a made you think, what's going on here now? Then so you give them 3 offsides, which were given up really quickly, and then an offside for us, and given the free kick in their half. So it probably was right. I'm definitely not. I mean, I did used to referee a little bit, but I wasn't up to the standards of these referees are. So yeah, it was a weird one. I don't really know why they gave that. But yeah, another win. That's all we can take from that. Need a bit more of a convincing win on Monday night. Is it Monday night or is it like a bank holiday? I swear it is.
I'm leaving that down to you, sorry.
We're finding it out. It's Monday night, yes. It is.
Yeah. I was going to say, unless something's like changed recently, then I didn't assume there was anything different about it.
I'm losing track of days at the moment, honestly. We're winding down for Christmas. I've had a busy old year, so I'm just making sure that I can actually tell the time at the right time. So yeah, that's the Blues Focus podcast for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Should also mention that we are doing a giveaway on our Twitter and Instagram at the moment for 500 quid to spend in the Blues shop on the 21st. By the time this goes out, obviously the entries will have closed. So if you've entered, then good luck. We'll be contacting the winner tomorrow by around sort of evening time, because obviously we've only got a few people working on this. We also do have another giveaway, actually, prize competition from Football Prizes. Dropped this amazing sort of bundle, really, of like signed players' shirts and everything, with like Tamaki Iwata's shirts. So they're selling tickets, $3.95, and then also the Alfie May and Lyndon Dykes shirts as well. So yeah, be sure to go and enter that. The link will be in the description, so be sure to go and check that out. There'll be framed shirts as well and everything, so we're going to be doing lots more of that in the future. And yeah, this podcast has also been brought to you by the TalkSport Fan Network. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure to give us a follow. And also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. All that good stuff. Thank you for listening again. Thank you, Sam, for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure as usual. Hopefully we'll be able to meet up again at the game very soon, because I know you living down south, it's difficult for you to get to home games, and the one time you do come to it, obviously we're late to the game, so that was fantastic. We never do things at half time. I'm not one of those type of people that likes to go and do anything at half time, because the queues are always massive to go and get like food or drink or anything, and then like everything outside's always really cramped and everything, so I don't know, just like sitting in my own seat for a bit, really. But we'll have to do something soon. I don't know if there's any games down south soon, actually, because we went to Wickham together, didn't we? We met before then. But apart, because obviously we're not going to Crawley.
Well, a lot of the teams down my way, we've got Stevenage away, that's in March, and then Cambridge away is the last day of the season, so that would be one that I'd definitely look to go to.
Unless we're going to Reading. God, that's going to be awful, that game. I'm not
100% that'll be midweek. Like, even if it's listed as a Saturday now, it'll be changed to midweek.
Well, it says 12:30 at the moment, so like Saturday 22nd of February, that's when we play them, but you say it's going to be midweek again.
it's like literally Reading away, I've never known it not to be midweek.
It's a shockingly bad game, and there's terrible crowd and fans and everything. I don't like having a go at any fans, really, but Reading, half the time, it's just like, oh God, I don't like playing them anyway. It's been a while since we played them away, so we'll have to decide that one out when it comes out. But yeah, we're waffling on, as usual, on the Blues Focus podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and keep right on.
Keep right on.